Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, in some instances you hear some things described as unbreakable, but there is really no such thing as unbreakable, because with virtually everything, if you apply enough pressure, you will bend it ultimately and almost certainly eventually break it. But have the Nigerian population broken the back of the Mallam Buhari regime? As guys, I bring you this: Buhari fires Burutai, other service chiefs, names replacements. So at last, Buhari have sacked these fat-bellied, pot-bellied so-called service chiefs who just take their allocations from the central bank and take it straight to Dubai to buy mansions and estates, whilst the security services are using them guns to take on insurgents that are carrying AK-47, so effectively taking a knife to a gunfight. So these now are almost criminal elements that are purport to be Nigerian service chiefs who pledged their fieldom to Buhari, thinking loyalty to Buhari was all that was required for the job, and that was all that was required for the job because that has sustained them in that position for 5 good years. So now in the tail end now of the Buhari regime, because the Buhari regime really has only 1 year and a bit left, because if you are thinking we're in 2021 now, and next year will be 2022, so next year will be really the next year, really maybe not even the full year that the Buhari regime will have as a functioning government, because by the last quarter of 2022 all the way through to 2023, in fact really this is the only year that the Buhari government has left as a functioning government, because from 2022 the whole of the governance and the whole of the Nigerian state will be thrown into like a electioneering mode, and people will be jostling and jockeying for positions, and nothing will happen in terms of governance within the Nigerian space. So effectively now we're in the last year of the Buhari regime as a functioning government, and then of course as I described will then take effect from pretty much the first quarter of 2022. So now at last he moves in at the 11th hour. Again, Buhari fires Burutai, other service chiefs, names replacements. So now let's now see what is being said here. President Muhammadu Buhari has fired the service chiefs led by Chief of Defense Staff Gabriel Olonisaki. Presidential spokesperson Femi Adesina stated this in a tweet via his verified handle on Tuesday. According to the tweet, Leo Irabor was named the new Chief of Defense Staff, I Atihiru, Chief of Army Staff, AZ Gambo, Chief of Naval Staff, and I.O. Amao, Chief of Air Force. The sack of the outgoing service chiefs followed renewed cries by Nigerians for their removal. Prominent amongst the voices was the National Assembly. After his tweet, Mr. Adesina released a statement saying Mr. Buhari accepted the immediate resignation of the service chiefs and their retirement from service. So here is now his full statement. So effectively is a tweet in full. President Muhammadu Buhari has accepted the immediate resignation of the service chiefs and their retirement from service. Those involved are the Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olonisaki, Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukai Burutai, Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibok Ekwe Aibas, and Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar. President Muhammadu Buhari thanks the outgoing service chiefs for what he calls their overwhelming achievements in our efforts at bringing enduring peace to our country, wishing them well in their future endeavor. The new service chiefs are Major General Leo Irabor, Chief of Defense Staff, Major General I. Atihiru, Chief of Army Staff, Rear Admiral A.Z. Gambo, Chief of Naval Staff, and Air Vice Marshal I.O. Amo, Chief of Air Staff. The president congratulates the new service chiefs and urges them to be loyal and dedicated in the discharge of their responsibilities. So that is the long and short of it, short and to the point, because of course this is breaking news. But then of course it is like for like, really, because the chief of defense staff was a Yoruba man, and it looks as though he has been replaced by an Edo man. So from Abayomi to Irabo. So the chief of defense staff, it doesn't really have any potency. Is just like a coordinator, not even a supervisor, but a coordinator, because he doesn't really have any troops or team behind him. He doesn't have any personnel behind him other than having oversight of the security services. So his own is just to advise and recommend, and that is pretty much the entirety of that role. So no potency there. And then the chief of army staff, which is the most potent of all of the forces within the Nigerian security structure. So the chief of army staff, previously Lieutenant General Tukor Burutai, has now been replaced by who has he been replaced with? Let's just look for the name of the new. So Major General Atihiru. So Fulani for Fulani is effectively what's happened there. So the ground troops are usually the most functional within the Nigerian space, because you've never heard of a military coup within the Nigerian space that was carried out by any other than the army. It is always the army, because they know the topography of the country and they move very swiftly to just surround a building and seize the occupants and take charge of the country. So you know how it goes. Major General Sani Abacha and all that. So it is usually the army, and he has retained it to his clan. So the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibok Ekwe Ibas. So I'm not quite sure if that is a South name or an Igbo name, but now who has he replaced that with? So so chief of who are we looking at even? Chief of naval staff. So from an Igbo person, and then the chief of naval staff now is an AZ Gambo. So he has even given that one to one of his own as well now in this instance. And then the last one, which is the Air Force man, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, has been given to Air Vice Marshal I.O. Amo. So I'm assuming that that Amo will be a Yoruba person. So it looks as though now that pressure of that Fulanization, that endless outcries of Fulanization has finally broken these guys back, because the nepotism and the clannishness was just too glaring to be sustained. And not only was the nepotism and the clannishness too glaring to be sustained, the incompetence that is inherent in that, because if you are being nepotistic and clannish, then you are only picking from a singular pool. So from that singular pool now, the quality would not necessarily always be there, because you would not get the best, even from the Yorubas, who probably are the probably one of the most highest achieving people, not just in Nigeria, but even in the world even. So even if you are picking from any singular group, you would not get the best of the best that the country has to offer, because the best that that group has to offer is not necessarily the best that the country has to offer. And that is what we're seeing manifesting now in the general rundownness state of the country now, with this guy picking solely from his own clan and the quality not being there. So even if he picks Fulani right across the board, I wouldn't mind so much. Let me give you an example. I can't quite recall her name instantly, but the lady that is in charge of the Nigerian Ports, the Nigerian Ports Authority, she is a Fulani lady, and she's of excellent quality. So that I don't mind at all, because when she presents and when she analyzes and when she states that this is the direction of travel that she's going rather, And then when you check that against what she is actually doing, then you see that it is consistent both with what she said and it's consistent with national interest. So no problems there. In fact, you would appoint that lady to that job. So it is competence really that we're saying really that is above all else, and the competence is not necessarily there amongst Mallam Buhari's clan. So you look at, just look all the way through. You look at the Minister of Power, I can't recall his name, Saleh something, his name is, who can barely speak English, and you're putting him in charge of electricity in a country that has identified electricity as its paramount, most important economic driver, and you put a semi-literate person there, a minister of justice, you are from Borno State University. You are saying somebody from Borno State University is the minister of justice over a legal body that is filled with people from Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford, Yale, etc. These are internationally reputed, highly qualified ones. So the best lawyers almost on the planet are from Nigeria, because even Nigerian justices go and sit in judgment in cases in all of these smaller African nations. Even the swearing in of places like Liberia and Sierra Leone, it is usually a Nigerian justice that swears in their president. So with that quality of legal luminaries to pick from, it is the man from Borno State University that you're picking, and you're expecting some sort of equality. So this is why people are picked up at will. This is why this guy will go and pick up Showore under some made up legal thing that is just made up in his own head, and Femi Falana will stroll in quite casually to where he has lock Showore up and just use his legal books to open the door and tell Showore to follow him. So just a bunch of nonsense. But now the pressure is now mounting to that point that has now broken the back of these people. I think they were actually forced to resign is really the thing, because the criticism is now getting to them as well. Because they're saying Buhari sacked them, but from the text that we read, these people actually resigned, and they resigned en masse. So it's either they were encouraged to resign or they were sacked. I don't know what the structures are within their administration, how it impacts rather on their entitlements if they were sacked or they resigned. Anyway, whatever the thing is, the upshot of it is this: the fat-bellied service chiefs are gone, to be replaced, no doubt, by another set of pot-bellied dollar grabbers. Come share thoughts about all this with me in the comment section. But before you come into the comment section to engage, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. Bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Click on like as well, because that helps with the YouTube algorithm. Once you've done all the clickings, come join me then in the comment section. The service chiefs have either been sacked or retired, but don't celebrate too early, because it's the same identical that will almost certainly replace them, like for like, and nothing will change. Or will it? So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section, but here I say peace.